Welcome back to VISTA to Onyx. I'm David from Learn Stage Lighting, and we're going to teach you Onyx here from the VISTA user's perspective. So, first thing to know as we launch this show is I'm pretty obviously doing this, recording this here on a PC. But whether you're on a PC or an Onyx console, the experience is actually very much the same. Consoles are going to give you the benefit of more hands-on controls and less on-screen, but everything works the same, everything looks the same, and we'll cover things with consoles more as we go deeper into the different tutorials. But for this first tutorial, it's pretty simple, and so we're just going to do everything here inside of Onyx on the PC. So the first thing you're going to see when you launch Onyx is this basic window. You can start a new show, load an existing show, join a network show, or continue your previous show, which if you're doing a fresh install, you won't see that one. Press new show, press yes, and we're going to go ahead and create a new show. I'll just call it Onyx to VISTA, and we'll go ahead and get started. Now, it takes a minute to get started. It goes and builds all the show data, and while it does that, I'll just mention here that I am in a beta version at the time of this recording of version 4.9 of Onyx. Some things may look different if you're in an older version of Onyx, but should look very familiar when this version comes out and into the future. But of course, we may redo this at a later date if needed. The first thing you're going to see here is kind of our main window. We've got lots of views here on the side, but we're going to go and head right to patching. So simply press the Onyx here in the corner to get to the Onyx menu, or the quick menu as I sometimes call it, into the patch, and voila, we're ready to patch. Now, don't be afraid. One of the things about VISTA that really catches people in and draws them in is that patching is super visual and really friendly, right? In Onyx, it's actually not all that difficult either. It's just not quite as visual, but guess what? Patching is something you do once and then you leave it forever in most, situations, right? A lot of churches that are using VISTA, etc. If you're doing different live events every day, sure, you might touch patch more often, but most users, that's not the case. Very simply, the easiest way to get started is to patch some fixtures. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and, in this case, just patch a new fixture. And in this case, I want to go ahead and patch. What do I want to patch here today? Ooh, this will be fun. What I really want to do is patch the Onyx demo show. So let me go ahead and pull that patch list up real quick. Perfect. So I'm going to start with 10 Elation Artiste Da Vinci's. Now, there's a few ways to get to this. By default, the standard library comes up at first, but when you've patched a few fixtures, it goes to the existing types in the show because it figures you're probably trying to patch one of those again. No big deal. You can just go back to the standard library anytime. You can go here, just hit DE, hit that twice, scroll down to Elation, then go find it here. Again, same type of letters, or be lazy like me, open up the search bar and just type. Perfect. Now it looks like we've got these in standard mode today. So we choose our mode right here, and it's going to give us a list out of the DMX channels. So if you're ever looking at a fixture and you're not sure if it lines up or the mode names don't exactly line up with what you have in your manual for that fixture, then you could just look channel by channel, see if they match up or not, and find the closest fixture. Now, this is another area. If your fixture's not in the fixture library, there's a few places you can go, and this is another area that Onyx really kicks butt. Okay, the first is that in the standard library, there are a couple folders under generic, which is right here. So there's generic colors, generic fixtures, and generic SFX or special effects. These are really special, really cool, because they give you all of these kind of just generic fixtures, right? For generic wash lights, LED fixtures, things that you might have some off-brand fixture that by name isn't in the fixture library, but you find something here that has the basic channels that you're looking for, and it's going to work just great. Under generic too, there's all sorts of combinations of these same types of things, including channels, for example, for dimmers. If you have a dimming system with traditional dimmers or relays, you can use that. Okay, I'll go back to the Artiste Da Vinci, but the other caveat there is if the fixture you are looking for, you need, is not in generic and it's not in the fixture library anywhere, then you can request it. You just go to support.obsidiancontrol.com, and they may update this later, so I'm not going to show it, but you go to the fixture library page and you fill out a short form with the info about your fixture and what it is, and drop in the manual or the DMX chart, and you're good to go. The really cool thing about that is for multiple years now, or even longer, their team that puts together these profiles typically gets them done, honestly, the next day. They say they try to get them done within 2 to 3 days. I usually see it created the next day, and then it's in the fixture library the day after that. So it's about a 2-day wait period, which is killer. If you have ever submitted a fixture for VISTA, which I've done many times for customers, it doesn't happen in 2 days. I just like to point that out. It takes a lot longer. And so that's really wonderful as well. So I just went ahead and I pressed auto patch right here, nice and easy. And now this is just walking me through a wizard to patch the lights. So in this case, I see my patch here and I need 10 fixtures, and their start ID is going to be channel 101. So the ID is just what you refer them to in the console. Some people never refer to them and just kind of ignore them. I like to be sequential with them. So 101 through 110 being my main spot units. That's a pretty typical way of doing this. Then I'm just going to leave it in fully automatic mode here. I could set what universe and address I want them to come to. I just want them to be at the first address, which in my visualizer file that we'll see in a few minutes, that's where they are. Press apply to patch. At the top, we'll get a little progress bar, and kaboom, you've got them. This is a great point to look at the different views in the patch window. We've already patched a fixture, but say you need to repatch it or change where it's patched. All you have to do, very simple, is click right here, and then right in the row, the column, you can do multiple as well. You just go like, let's start up here. And actually, yeah, let's start up here. Instead of at 113, I'm going to start them at 300. Hit enter. Okay, they repatch. Now I can go ahead, I can put them back. Nice and easy, very simple. Everything in this spreadsheet type format works that way. So if you want to name them, you can name them. For example, what if I call them main spot? And then I'm not going to put a number behind them. I just put main spot because when I do multiple like that, it automatically numbers them straight through. Nice and easy. Okay. Similarly, we can go ahead and invert these fixtures. So when I press in this column for any or multiple fixtures, it gives me these options for inverting the pan and tilt or flipping them. If you have a fixture that's not hung right, you can just do that, and often that'll fix your problems. It's always best to actually move the fixture, but sometimes that's not available to you. What else do we have? Looking over the VISTA video, we've covered a lot here. There are some different views in here that might be helpful to you. So one is that we can go ahead and sort by fixture type. So we only have one type right now, but if we had multiple, we could sort through them using these buttons right here. We can also go in here and change our fixture type color, which I'm going to do for these, and give them a color, which we'll see in multiple places around the console as we work. We also have some filters on the bottom for fixtures, all patched and non-patched, so that can be helpful as well. And then along the top here, we have some different ways to visualize our patch. So, hey, look at this. This looks probably very familiar to you. Sure, you can't click and drag it around, but other than that, it works and looks just like VISTA, gives you a visual representation of what you've got going on. I personally am really used to the spreadsheet format. I think it works well, but you can do what you want, right? If you need to do anything, renumber, etc., it all just works by clicking, typing in, enter, you're good to go. Onyx is a command line based console, but don't let that scare you. It's really not that scary. It writes everything at the bottom. And the biggest thing to be aware of is if I go, for example, here, and I want to move this to like 150 from 110, you just have to press enter to make it happen. And if you start going around and clicking other things, sometimes things stay in the command line until you press enter, and it might kind of get stuck, but don't worry about that. That's just something to learn about using a lighting console. Not a big deal. We can also do things like delete fixtures, because that's something in here that we got to cover in this video. We just go to this command tab, just like we did for new fixture. And we've got a variety of things here. So we can command and unpatch, command and delete. And all we do in that case is just press delete, So we hit the command there. Now it says delete fixture in the command line. We're going to type the fixture number. We can even click on it. Okay. And then we can use other commands for multiple fixtures. So on our keypad, we could do 106 plus 108, for example, delete both of them. We could do a through command, 106 through 108. Lots of ways to do it, but I don't want to delete anything right now. So I'm just going to press clear to clear out my command line. Okay, it's worth noting as well too, just a little promotion here. This little keypad on the screen is a handy pop-up, but even more handy is the Onyx NXK. We sell a lot of them at Learn Stage Lighting Gear because it's one of the most inexpensive ways to license Onyx, get output via Ether DMX, via network DMX, and you get a cool keypad like this with some little encoders on it, and they're not very expensive. They're great. Awesome stocking stuffer, or anything. I know it's January when I'm recording this. All right, so what else do we have to cover with patching? It's actually pretty simple. So I'm not going to bore you and patch the whole rest of the rig in front of you, but I will do the next fixture. No, I don't need to. That's just going to bore you. We'll patch them all and we'll come back in the next video. But before that, I do want to cover the other things that the VISTA patch section does cover. And that is the various DMX outputs that you might have. Okay, in Onyx, that doesn't happen in the patch window. It just happens in the main menu. So we'll go back into the menu, and then we've got a variety of settings here. Now, this is one of those places that, like I mentioned before, where if you go here to settings and Ether DMX, you might see something that looks different on some of these screens if you're in a Onyx version before 4.9. Not a big deal. They changed it pretty majorly in this most recent version. It's a lot more useful, but you might see something different, so be aware of that. Okay, when it comes to setting up DMX outputs, it's actually really simple. So this page is for Ethernet-based DMX. That's ArtNet or SACN. We have other videos on it, but essentially it's really as simple as these are your network adapters. So I've got my Ethernet adapter, I've got an internal Ethernet adapter on this particular computer, and I've got my Wi-Fi. Actually, you know what? I think the second one actually is a USB to Ethernet. For any of them, I can change and manage the IP address of that particular Ethernet port from right here. Don't have to open Windows settings, which is awesome. For the most part, leaving them to automatic or setting them to static can work great. Again, that's kind of networking 101, not the topic of this video. But then it's really as simple as just setting up either ArtNet and or SACN, though I don't typically recommend running them both at the same time. ArtNet doesn't always love that. And then setting the universes you want to output. You know, so any of these fields like this in Onyx, you're going to be able to plus minus or just click and type, right? So there, I'm outputting universe 1 through 5. For ArtNet, Onyx starts counting universes at 1. So if you have an ArtNet device already and you're trying to set it up and you're having trouble, see where it starts universes at. If it allows you to do universe 0, then your universes on that device will be 1 lower than the one coming out of Onyx. This isn't an Onyx issue, but more one with the ArtNet protocol where they allow both formats in devices. Then you can turn on broadcast, which basically just turns on the DMX output. Again, here it is for SACN below. Turn that on. So for SACN, there's actually no broadcast switch. It just turns on. For ArtNet, there is one, right? You can turn that on, press apply, and now it's outputting to your DMX nodes. If you do have ArtNet type devices here that are available, that are for remote configuration, they will show up in the screen and they may allow you to change things like the ports remotely. Now this is actually changing it inside the box, so be careful with it if you're at a venue that's not your setup, because you don't want to change other people's stuff around without having, of course, their permission, right? Other than that, it's pretty simple. If you have USB devices, then it'll be here on the I/O settings pages. Nope, they moved it. The DMX settings page, sorry, which you'll see USB, you'll see the local, which are USB devices, or ports built into consoles like the NX4s, NX1s. Hey, if you need an NX1, Learn Stage Lighting Gear is the place, remember? You'll also see your Ethernet things here and your DMX timings here. Don't touch those. Just don't do it. There's even a big warning about that. But it's really that simple. Next, we got to talk about if you do need to lamp on or off fixtures, we just go right back here to the menu. and we hit lamp on or lamp off, fixture reset, etc. That'll lamp on your fixtures, lamp off your fixtures, etc. The cool thing about Onyx, which other consoles don't do, is it automatically, and it's done this for years, it offsets the fixtures so they're not all lamping on at the same time, which is a really good best practice to do. It does it for you. What do you think of that? Next, what do we do? All right. Essentially, that's pretty much it. There's not a lot else to it. In fact, here in VISTA, I see a lot more complication, a bunch of other panels and things. But honestly, it's really not necessary in Onyx. So I'm going to go ahead, patch the rest of my fixtures, and then meet you in the next video, where we're going to be talking about all kinds of good things, such as, working with fixtures, creating layouts, and being able to work with things visually, just like you're used to in VISTA, but hey, in a newer, better, more cost-effective solution like Onyx. Thanks so much. We'll see you there. Thanks.